What? Hey guys, how are you? Welcome. I make a lot of videos and just trying to calm myself down. I make videos, and one of the videos I have not done is sharing my testimony. My testimony is going to be a little longer than my average videos because I want to tell people how I got through Hurricane Katrina, how I ended up in the north when I was in the south, a place I never imagined going, a place I just never thought about. But anyway, I was in a bad relationship, but I don't think it had anything to do with a bad relationship. I think it had something to do with my relationship with God. I think it was the fact that He loved me, He died for me, and I believe it has something to do with the fact that I believed in Him. I believe the words I heard about faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I believe it has something to do with the fact that He is our Father because Jesus introduced Him as Abba Father. And I believe He loved me so much. And because I took on the fact that He loved me so much, I believe that He was my Father. And we were living in the projects at one time, and I'll never forget all the furniture that I had was old, and I really wanted some furniture, and we lived, anyway, so He blessed me, but not at the time, but I kept telling people my father is going to bless me with furniture. I called him my dad. And so, but it wasn't at that time that I got the furniture, because the furniture that I had, I ended up throwing it out. But I could just share a little bit with you. And that is, one time I had, in that particular couch, a rat died in that couch. I didn't know it at the time, but when the smell came, I was so like, I can't believe a rat died in our furniture. So I threw the couch, the chair, everything that looked like, that belonged together, the furniture, I threw it all out. And I'm glad I did. And when I threw it out in the garbage by the dumpster, I realized it looked like it belonged in the trash. And I said, my daddy's going to get me some new furniture. I just had this faith, believing that this God, who I never seen before, would do the thing that He said He would do. And so moving forward, I just kept on having this faith. My children, I have 5 children. It was just me. Their dad was in jail. Then he came out, and it was us. And I probably should have never married him, because marrying him the second time, like I married him the first time, then I married him the second time. Never marry a person because they're the father of your children or mother of the children, however you want to call it. But I did marry him. He compared me to every woman that he met on the street. I feel like I lost my confidence, but I didn't know I had lost my confidence. I really never really had confidence, but in the God I did, in this God, this Father, this loving God. So I had my furniture throughout, and we just lived on the floor for a while. My kids, we didn't have anything to sit on, so we sat on the floor. I read the Word of God. I taught them what I knew. I even raised each one of my children up to Him. I was like, I'm a single mom, so I just raised them up. Like I remember in the movie Roots, that God, will you teach me how to raise my children? Teach me how to help them. I wanted the best for them, though I didn't have the best. I remember they had chicken pox. Nobody came to help me with that. I just had my daughter call out to the Lord. Anyway, so He blessed me so many times that it just brought me more and more closer to this God that I'd never seen before. So moving forward, we hear about Hurricane Katrina. But before we heard about Hurricane Katrina, several things had happened to me, but I didn't know how to. I just didn't know anything but faith. And faith is just believing what I could not see. And so one day, I was sitting in a salon, and this lady, now I had been told that, by this man that I was married to so many, twice, that pretty much I was a nobody. And I believed that I was a nobody because the man who I married, one day he told me, "You're more a woman than a man I'll ever be." I don't know why he told me that, but it really struck me in a way to respond to him. So is that a compliment? That I'm more a woman than the man you'll ever be? So that means you'll never be a man for my children. And that really hurt me in a way. It made me feel sunk in my soul, actually. I cried a lot, but I cried to God, and he brought me out. I used to think truly, truly, truly that I was nobody. I didn't have friends. I just didn't have somebody to put their arms around. My mom loved me, but I don't think she even knew how to love me because she was abused by my dad. So how could she love me? So I was just in this place. But the God who can reach deep, whose love is so wide, whose love is so high, he reached down for me. And I'll never forget. So I'm sitting in a beauty salon. Hurricane Katrina had not been announced yet that we had a Category 5 hurricane coming. But so I'm in a salon, and he had already done things for me before. So I knew this unction when I felt it, heard it, I knew it. So I'm sitting in a beauty salon. And this lady, she was reading a book. No, I have never asked anyone in my life, "What are you reading?" Right? But only the God that I know knows me so well that he knows even the font of books that I would read. So this spirit told me to ask this lady, "What are you reading?" So I asked her. I said, I just sat there like in awe that I'm told to ask this lady what she's reading. So I asked her, I said, what are you reading? And she says it's The Dream Giver. So now it's her turn to get up and go to get her hair done. And she gives me the book. Now, no one has ever just done anything like that for me. Okay. But she gives me the book, and the book is called The Dream Giver. There was a cover on this book, but I don't have it on there anymore. So then we find out that, so I opened the book up, and lo and behold, it's about the dream giver, and it's written in childlike font. And it's about Ordinary, who lives in a place where everybody there is a nobody. The song I used to sing is, "I'm just a nobody, trying to tell everybody about somebody who could save anybody." I still consider myself a nobody. But when I opened the book up and it talked about the nobody named Ordinary lived in a land of familiar, every day was pretty much the same for Ordinary. In the morning, he got up, blah, blah, blah. That was me. That was my life. So I'm like, Lord, wow. So now we hear about Hurricane Katrina is coming to Louisiana. We hear that it's going to be Category 4. First we hear Category 3. Then we hear Category 4. Then we hear Category 5. It doesn't scare me at all because we've been told about many hurricanes coming to our state, but nothing has ever shook us. Nothing has ever brought the town down. Nothing has ever brought our city down to where we're at our knees for food or anything. So it didn't really scare me. We did have our lights off for a long time at one time, maybe about a week, but they were back on. They gave us food stamps. Okay, we good. But then Hurricane Katrina came. I'll never forget, I was in a grocery store, and it was all hustle and bustle. Everybody was trying to get as much meat, bread, milk, anything. They were doing all of that, but I wasn't. So when I went to the meat department, I asked this lady, I was like, telling her what I wanted. And I said, can you clean off the meat thing, whatever, the cleaver, the thing that they cut the meat in. She said, "Ma'am, it is hurricane. We have a hurricane coming. There's no way I'm going to clean this right now." So I went ahead and stood there for a few minutes, and then I left. I went home, And so I was reading this book to my kids, okay? And in this book, it just talks about how this young nobody named Ordinary had a dream from the dream giver. As he is telling his dad about the dream, his dad is in awe, and he's like sad because he had a dream too, but he never pursued it. So it's raining. I'm turning the pages. Again, I'm reading this story to my children every single night because it's in childlike font. And I felt like if I could understand it, then they could understand it too. So now it's pouring down, raining outside. We have enough food in the cupboards, but we're not worried about any of that. It's just scary right now because it's thundering, it's lightning, it's not stopping raining. We know that it's going to be terrible. Our lights are still kind of flickering on and off. The man I'm married to is laying in the bed. Oh, let me share this with you. Prior to this, he had told me I had just got my new job at Whole Foods. And Whole Foods is, everybody know about Whole Foods, they organic foods. It had just opened up in Louisiana. I got the job when it opened up. So I had been there about 6 months. And he tells me one day, now this man was a drunk. He always went out. There was nights he didn't come home. And I have his children, and it is one of the, I can't even really explain how I felt, but I just felt like I had nobody but God. He the only one understood me. He the only one that really cared. He the only one put his arms around me. He the only one heard me. He the only one that just let me know that I was somebody. So I trusted him. I trusted God. So when this man told me, I'm never going to give you money again, he laughed at me and he smirked in my face and said, you're going to want to get child support, but I'm not going to give it to you. I didn't even think about child support. I never thought about that, but he had thought about it. Sounds like the enemy to me. So I told him, the Lord is my husband. He gives me everything I need. He gives me everything I need. He assures me that he controls the money. And he puts me on a pedestal high above my enemies. And he adores me. And he gives me everything I need. One day you're going to wake up and we're going to be gone. I did not know I was prophesying what was going to take place. But something did take place. Hurricane Katrina. So again, time forward. Here we are now. I'm reading this book to my kids. And it is catastrophic outside. And he wakes up in the middle of the night while we're up because it's raining and can't sleep, but he's sleeping. A drunk can sleep through anything. He wakes up and he says, I'm going to be with my family. Wait a minute. Who is your family? I couldn't even believe this guy telling me he's going to get up and go be with his family. We're his family, me and these children. But he wanted to go be with his auntie and, the people that are more like-minded with him. I still didn't understand what was going on, but I went ahead with it, stayed in my place. And so Hurricane Katrina passes over us. And now I'm at, let's see where I'm at. I'm at this chapter where it says, meet your dream coach. And Hurricane Katrina has passed over us, so I can't really describe the sky. I'll do my best to tell you that it was not blue, like clear. It was kind of overcast. And I drive a 1993 Mercury Villinger. And while I'm outside, there is the same unction that said, ask what the lady is reading, ask what book she's reading. That same unction in my spirit told me to look on the ground. Now, guys, if you know anything about rain and wind and all of that, birds have scattered and they're hiding somewhere. So birds are not flying around during a hurricane. But there's a feather in this book. And the same spirit that unctioned me to look on the ground, I looked on the ground and there was a feather. This is a feather. And I said to myself, which I'm talking to the spirit that speaks inside of me, I said, there is no way that there's two birds that feathers are alike, because I heard that all my life. It's a cliche. Well, I didn't even get in my car. I ran inside, and I just want to show you this. This is the feather, and this is the feather. Look at that. Are those two feathers not alike? Look at that little, let me see it, turn it around so you can see where the little feather is. I'm talking about this last little part right here. Everything on this feather is the same as the feather in the book. Let's get to the real part here so you can see. God knows where we are at all times. Excuse me, that's Tyreek. Yeah, you should come in over. So I go in and I know by everything in me that the God who I depend on is speaking to me. In this book, it tells me that it's time for me to leave. He's going to take me from the place that I'm familiar with to a place that I'm unfamiliar with. So I never thought I had the Abraham-like faith, but the Abraham faith was really in me. And I believe God. There's a part in this book that tells about the bullies in the alley and everything about leaving, and don't believe the bullies in the alley. So you said I have to come in, right? Yes, you have to come in over. So, Ma'am, I'm just about to close the garage. Alrighty. Guys, forgive me. That's my grandman. So I leave. I don't leave Louisiana yet. I try to figure out what God is telling me. Like, is everything line up on line, precept on precept? I drove a 1993 Mercury Villager. So I end up finding a place to go to keep us, it was up north. I chose a place up north, not knowing that I was actually going to leave. But anyway, trying to get my thoughts back because Tyreek is walking in. So I leave. I find a place in Ohio because the job I was working for, which is Whole Foods, they accept you from wherever you are. So I ended up finding a place up north. And the reason I found up north, or chose up north, is because my children and I saw a little bit of snow, but they never saw all 4 seasons. That's winter, spring, summer, and fall. We mostly saw fall, winter, and rain, but we never had snow. So I thought it would be nice to see all seasons. So I chose a place up in Ohio, and the only reason I got to Ohio is because I called Red Cross. I told Red Cross I had 5 children. I was single. I was a married mom, but I was in a married state where I needed help. God had orchestrated everything all the way up until me getting my car. Like, I took my car, had it checked. Long story short, this guy, he didn't even charge me for fixing my car. I had a MapQuest to say where I'm going. He fixed my car. So when it was time for me to leave, I walked around my car over and over, and I just prayed and asked God to just protect us. I say, I just believe you. I believe that you told me to do what I'm doing. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you this. I never been out of town before. When I say out of town, I never drove out of town. I did go to San Marcos, Texas for school, but I didn't even drive myself there. And Texas is 6 hours away from Louisiana. So here is the north, and it was Columbus, Ohio. We drove all the way from a place I never even been so far away, but I trusted this God I never seen. And we made it all the way up north. I talked to somebody at Red Cross. We got there. Before we got there, I was scared. I walked around my car. I prayed and asked God to protect us. And I just believed him. I believed him because he brought me through so many things. And everything he did, as far as like the unbelievable things, they were possible with him. Like fixing my car, making sure I had enough money for gas. I'm talking about I didn't have anything. Remember, the man said he wasn't going to give me any money. He laughed in my face and said he would never give me child support. I didn't hold on to what he said. I believe what God said over him. Because the Lord is my husband. He gives me everything I need. He has assured me that he controls the money. He gives me good things to enjoy at his expense. He teaches me to stand firm, and I am proud to have his name, because in his name, there are no faults. He is the great I am. That's what I hold on to. That's what I held on to. That's what I believe. And sure enough, he brought us all the way north, a place we had never been, unfamiliar. Everything was unfamiliar. The food, the air, the scenery. And I didn't know a soul there except that man I spoke to on the phone, who was a stranger. But I drove because everything else he did along the way, he wasn't going to bring me that far and just leave me. And he continued. So I said all that to say is that I stepped out on faith because God gave me a book. He orchestrated my life, and faith is real. And if you have faith, just hold on. I'm going through things now, and I still trust this God who brought me through everything. And I'm saying this to you now because right now we're getting ready to have the, Easter, and all these things are happening in our life because of what? Corona. Corona is COVID is nothing compared to God. He knows where you are. And I pray that you're encouraged by my testimony. I just felt like I needed to share it with you guys. And I hope that you were blessed. Thank you for being there with me, Kim and Sharon. I just wanted to tell you my testimony. It's just a short part of it, but it was everything that I could tell you about leaving a place that I was familiar with to go somewhere I'd never been before, and how he has really changed my life, made a huge difference in my life, and blessed me along the way. So I do have the Abraham faith, and I pray you do too. God bless and keep you, and you'll see me perhaps in another video.